Hey, good evening, everybody. How are you today? I hope you had a great day. We are winding down the week, and I know I'm a little late, but I was busy tying challah knots, making them into my little challah rolls. And so I just got some into the oven, and while those are cooking, I am or baking. I am coming alive here so that they can, and then I'll go finish up the second half of the batch. So I figured I'd come and chit chat with you guys tonight. And see how everybody is doing, see if everybody is ready for the weekend. I know I am. I'm exhausted, and I definitely need that day of rest that is coming up, our Sabbath, Shabbat that is coming up. I will definitely treasure it this week because I definitely need some sleep. But I wanted to come and talk to you about a topic that I know resonates with a lot of people because I've had this conversation, but it's, do you just have one of those days, and fill in the blank of what that is, but where you feel like everything is sort of spinning out of control. And if you're an emotional eater, everything is calling your name to do emotional eating, right? Have you had any of those days? Have you had them recently? Comment below and let me know. And if you're on here live, I can see a couple of people are on live, but I can't see who you are. Give me a hashtag live. And if you're picking this up in the recording, give me a hashtag replay. But, right, stop and take a second and think. When was the last time you just had one of those days where it just felt like nothing was going right, everything was, crazy, whatever it was, and you just felt like you were going to eat the house, or whatever it is that you do to cope with stress that is a bad, unhealthy habit? Because, that's where we're going here with this, is what are those bad, unhealthy habits, and do they take over, right? Well, here's a story. Well, yesterday was one of those days here for me, right? Like, I was just totally stressed. I had a lot going on, a lot to do, and it was those old bad habits came rearing back at me, right? And it was just one of those days that I wanted to eat the house, right? I mean, not literally but everything that was in the kitchen, it didn't matter, healthy, not healthy, it didn't matter. I was stressed, and I'm, like I said, I'm tired and everything. And it was one thing after another yesterday. And that's just old bad habits come flying back. And it's so hard. It's something that we all struggle with, right? If you guys look at me and say, wow, she's been at her healthy weight for over 3 years, it must be easy for her. No, it is not easy. It's really hard, and we all have those days. But the awesome key thing is that because of my healthy habits that I have worked very hard to be creating over the last 3.5 years, because of the healthy community, because of all the amazing resources that I have, right? I'm able to rein it in. And I had that kind of day yesterday that was just right? One of those days. But the truth is, in my past life, 3.5 years ago, it wouldn't have just been one day, right? It would have spiraled. It would have been one day. And then I would have felt guilty. So it would have been a second day. And then I would have felt even guiltier. And it would have been a third day and a fourth day and a fifth day and on and on and on. And it would have spiraled. The next thing I would have known, it would have been weeks later, and I would have put on 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, whatever it was, right? But the amazing thing is, I have those days. We all have those days where we just, it's hard, right? It's hard, and things are stressful, and old bad habits come flying back at you. But when you have the tools and you have the resources, it's one day. Literally, I laid in bed last night when I went to bed, and I was like, okay, first thing I'm going to do is find my wins for the day, right? I always do that. I always end my day by writing down my wins for the day, because even in a day where I spiral out of control, where I have a rough day, right, there's always something good in there. There's always some wins. So I like to end my day thinking about those wins and recognizing those wins, because then when I do that, then when I start the next day, I can start in better control, right? But you know what? I was also sort of in this mindset last night after I did that I said to myself, okay, I had my day. I had my day where I let myself spiral out of control. I let myself go back into old bad habits, and I didn't feel so great afterwards, right? But I had my day, so it's over. It's done. Now tomorrow I'm back on. Now tomorrow I'm not going to spiral out of control. Now tomorrow I'm going to rein it in, and I'm going to utilize the tools and the resources that I have, and I'm going to reach to my support system and use that. And that is what is key, right? Here's the lesson in this. When you have a day like that, or even if it goes on 2 days, 3 days, whatever, and you can't rein it in right when you're recognizing it, as soon as you recognize it, forgive yourself, right? Stop, forgive yourself. It's okay, right? It's okay. And that's one of the things that I said to myself last night is, it's okay. I know exactly what I need to do when I can rein it in. And I was not going to let this go for days, right? I have a dress that I have to wear next week. I'm not going to let this go out of control, right? But forgive yourself. Say, it's okay. I had a rough day. And then recognize what was going on and set your plan, set your new plan, and just get started. Don't let it just spiral out of control. And reach out for help, right? If you can't do that on your own, because most of us can't, I'm going to be completely honest, most of us can't, including myself. I have to reach out for help. I have to reach out to my healthy community, my support system, and say, help, right? Here's my plan. I had a really rough day yesterday, right? Where the old bad habits just won, right? Temporarily, but they didn't win the war. They won the battle. They won the small piece, but they didn't win the overall, right? And the truth is, overall, the good habits won, because today I was right back on plan. I got up this morning. I prepared myself. I made a plan, right? And a big piece of that, like I said, is ending my day yesterday on those wins and on forgiving myself, because that is so key. When you're struggling with something, forgive yourself, right? We are human. We are not perfect. There was a meme that I posted the other day about, sometimes going to bed is the equivalent of just unplugging, that device and hitting the reset button. And that's exactly what it was. That was exactly the thought that was going through my head last night was, okay, this was a really rough day, but I am unplugging, hitting the reset button, and tomorrow morning it's a new day, right? And that's what we have to think about. But if you can catch yourself in the middle of the day when you're doing this, right? Don't wait till the next day, right? Every single moment is the next moment, right? Because that spins us out of control even more sometimes if we can't rein it in, right? Where all of a sudden we're like, the day is already shot, so now I'm just really just going to go off the rails, right? How many people have done that? Me. Yes, you can see flour. There's still challah dough on my hands, right? We can so easily do that. But we don't want that. We want as soon as you catch it, which is why I said last night, I ended my day by writing out my wins, because that was my way of catching it last night, right? Catching it, stopping. Okay, today was not a total loss. And here are the things, here's what I'm going to recognize as what were great things that weren't a total loss, right? And recognizing that, because then that helps us rein it in for the next day, right? Rein it in, pull it in, and reach out. Reach out for help, because it doesn't have to be a total off the rails. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, right? We can do it. Every one of you can do this. It's so possible, and it doesn't have to be, forever and ever and ever out of having a rough day. I was actually talking to somebody tonight who is just starting on program, and this is something that she really struggles with, right? She goes and she does really well until she doesn't. Who else can say that, right? And it's something that she's new on plan, and she is rocking her plan so far. Amazingly rocking her plan and feeling great. But that's one of her big fears, is what happens when whatever, right? Everything. And I said, we're taking this one day at a time. One day at a time. We're going to focus on the wins. We're going to focus going through. And yeah, you're going to have a rough day. That's just the reality. That's just life. We all have a rough day sometimes. Sometimes we have multiple rough days. But it's recognizing that, and it's having a plan. It's knowing what you're going to do when you have those rough days, and not letting it let you spin out of control for days and weeks at a time. So if you're having one of those days, if you're having one of those weeks, I actually feel like I've been talking to a lot of people right now that are going through this. This is a tough time of year. This season change thing, and I know it's not really fall yet, but this season change thing is hard, right? And this is sort of the end of a season change, right? The summer is winding down. Not happy about that. But the summer is winding down. People are taking their final vacations. Kids are going back to school. My kids go back to school on Monday. A lot of kids have already started school, right? It's this time of uncertainty and time of change. And so I always see it a lot within myself, but I also see it a lot within clients, right? This time of uncertainty. And that's when people really struggle, right? So within that, find your certainty. find the things that you can cling to give you that stability so that you don't go spiraling out of control and all of a sudden you're 2 months later and you're so far gone that then you're really miserable, right? So that's really key. And know that you're not alone in this. That's also super important, to know that you are not alone, that we all struggle with this. Even somebody who looks like they've totally got it together, I can guarantee they don't, right? None of us do. None of us have it totally together. And when you start asking people, if they're honest with you, they'll share where they don't have it totally together. And then you can lean into each other. So I hope this is helpful. If you're going through something, if you're struggling with something, if you just feel like things are out of control, know that you're not alone. Please feel free to reach out. And just know that it can stop at any time. You just have to put that hard stop and say, I'm done. Find your wins and then make a switch. So I hope you have a great night. I'm going back. My buzzer's about to go for my challah. I can hear it start to do that last countdown. So I got to go get my challah out of the oven and go get my next batch in. But I hope you guys have a great night, and I will see you back here tomorrow. Bye.